Okay, so once again, welcome everybody. We are so happy to have you here tonight. This is something that's been near and dear to my heart that I am just still learning about, honestly, alongside you. I have been in the health space for for over a decade. Yet it was just a few years ago that I started really focusing on hormone health and the endocrine system and how it's so important that we focus on the things that are going in, on, and around our bodies that are affecting it on a daily basis, some of which we don't even realize if we're missing this information. So I'm excited. We have two special presenters tonight. Both Kaylee Calabrese and Jamie Pfeiffer are going to be helping share some really great tips and tools with you and just some baseline education on endocrine disrupting chemicals. And so the main topics that we're going to go over is consumer savviness. We all need products, right? We all need makeup. We all need things to help clean our homes. We all need things that we're using on a day-to-day basis. And we don't want to walk around in this doom and gloom scenario. And that's, I feel like what happens often is a lot of times we start wanting to clean things up and then we start falling into these rabbit holes and just feeling like, oh my gosh, everything is going to kill me. I'm just going to stick my head in the sand and say YOLO, right? But you can just YOLO and also thrive in this space and have this education and really understand more about being a consumer, but savvy in this space, understand the health impact, understand what a toxic load is on your body and how to take action. So let me minimize this guy. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have Kaylee come on and talk about consumer savviness. We're going to go over a few questions here. This is just an overview of the questions that we're going to go through. And Kaylee, if you could briefly introduce yourself and then start us off with how do we find hormone-safe brands that we can trust?
Yes. So I'm Kaylee Calabrese. I'm filling in for Carly tonight, who's not feeling well. And I am a certified holistic health coach, certified through international practitioners for holistic medicine. And I've been practicing in this space for over 16 years. I've been on my personal wellness journey for just as long. So I know what it feels like to be at the beginning and to start to learn about these things. I always tell the story of the first time I did one of my courses. I went to the grocery store the next day and I learned how to read labels, and I cried in the grocery store aisle because I felt so overwhelmed, like at the thought of trying to figure out what was actually good for us. But the good news is we've made a lot of progress over the last 16 years. So the question, how do I find hormone safe brands I can trust? Well, one thing that's really important is that we don't fall for greenwashing, is what they call it. And that's the concept of marketing teams slapping labels on the front of boxes and bottles that look like this would be a safe, eco, clean, natural, all those words, products, which you can see in the picture on the left-hand side here. They don't actually mean a lot as far as the quality of the ingredients that are inside. But if you look for reliable certifications like Certified B Corporation, cruelty-free, USDA organic, these are more reliable labels that when you see these on a bottle, you can have a little more faith in what's inside because it has been vetted more. So looking for certifications, learning to read labels. So we're going to give you some key ingredient names to avoid, like phytolates and triclosan and oxybenzone. There's like a lot of these big, complicated, sciencey words. If you flip the bottle around, one really easy tip, you turn it around and it's half the bottle you need a magnifying glass to read it, just go ahead and put that one right back on the shelf. You want to look for more minimal ingredients and things that you can mostly pronounce. When you find things that you're like, what the heck is that? You can use apps. So there are some good apps out there like Yuka where you can research ingredients, and that can be really helpful as well. And finding a couple of brands that you trust. Like for me, Hugh Grace has been a game changer because I have a one-stop shop. I also like websites like Detox Market and Credo Clean Beauty. They do a lot of the research for you, just like Hugh Grace has done a lot of the research to find good ingredients. So, I've kind of touched on the app. Yuka is a great app that you can use. if you go to the Million Marker website, another wonderful website that will give you a lot of insight into what ingredients are good, what brands they trust. Some apps and websites are pay to play, which means anybody can get on them if they're willing to pay enough money. And sadly, the EWG, which has a pretty well established reputation in this industry, is one of those sites where you can pay to play. So just because it's on the EWG's website doesn't necessarily mean it's good. Looking at the individual ingredients will give you a much better indicator of how clean the product is. And like I said, natural can be a greenwashing phrase. So natural could be good, but it might not be. It just depends on the company that's using the phrase. So you really always want to look at the back of the bottle and not at the marketing on the front of the bottle.
Thank you. So, one of the things that I was shocked at in the beginning when I first started learning about this, I was like, well, and I have teenage children and they're using products. My daughter uses lots of, she loves the skincare routines, that type thing. And I was so frustrated when I found out what you'll go into now. I thought, well, of course we're protected by the FDA. They wouldn't allow, chemicals and things that are going to harm us. I won't go I won't go into specifics. I'll let you do it. But I was
Go
just,
down a rabbit hole.
yeah, no, we're trying to keep this short. But I was just, shocked when I started learning. So, Kaylee, doesn't the US and FDA protect us from harmful ingredients going on our shelves?
I mean, you would think, but sadly, no. So I worked in marketing for over a decade, guys, and there are really no regulations as far as, especially in the beauty industry, what can be in our products. In the United States, we ban 11 harmful ingredients. In the EU, over 2,400 are banned. There are also no laws about what really has to be labeled on the bottle. So they can leave ingredients off and they can hide ingredients within phrases like fragrances, or they can say that things are proprietary and they don't have to list them. So it's why, for me, finding companies like Detox Market, like Hugh and Grace, who have a commitment to total transparency in their ingredients, they're trying to elevate the industry as a whole. And, if they're willing to share and post their third-party testing, that's where the magic is at. That's what I want to rely on.
Yeah, and that's a huge game changer. So rewinding just a little bit, I think maybe we should have covered this first, but what exactly does EDC mean and what is it? Why are they so bad for us?
Yeah, so EDC stands for Endocrine Disrupting Chemicals. And if you're not familiar, endocrine, or endocrine system, is the system that encompasses all of our hormones and our hormonal activity. So the reason that these chemicals can be so bad is that they can mimic our natural hormones, which can make our body think like, oh, I have enough estrogen, I don't need to make any. They can block our hormone receptors. So in mimicking them, they can attach into our hormone receptors on our cells. And then that means that the hormone signaling is not happening properly. So once that goes off in one place, it's a chain reaction. So when we've got these mimicking hormones in our body, imagine all the signals that are being missed and how good we might feel if those signals were actually able to fire properly. So endocrine disrupting chemicals, they're known to have like a lot of, could you just go back for one more second, Amy, for that slide? A lot of health risks in infertility, developmental issues, cancer, and long and short-term exposure do matter. We are going to get into that a little bit more, but this is a great slide to screenshot. So these are some of the places where endocrine disruptors are most commonly found in the areas that you might want to look at making some simple swaps.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you for the slide. Really appreciate that. So now we're going to go into, now we know what endocrine disruptors are, we're actually going to bring on Jamie Pfeiffer. And Jamie, we'll have you introduce yourself, and she's going to cover with us, what do EDCs do? What is the impact on our health when we have these EDCs in our system? So Jamie, where you at?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I have been also in the health and wellness field for, I guess, 13 to 14 years now. And about a year and a half ago for myself, I really started to clean up my products. And I just want to say this again, it can be so overwhelming. And I cannot remember these terms. Like I have to have this written out. I screenshot pictures all the time. And then like I was literally just checking my sunscreen. I just bought this one the other day. And as I was researching earlier, I'm like, oh my gosh, again, like it doesn't have the bad one, but it has these others, so don't get overwhelmed. It's this slow process as we're all learning, and new information is coming out every single day. So I love what Kaylee talked about earlier of find the sites that you truly trust, because every time I would find a product, then I'd see a lawsuit. And when I came upon the Hugh Grace products, I guess about 9 months ago now, I am currently studying in school. I'm about to graduate as an NTP, which is a the cat wants to be in Zoom, nutritional therapy practitioner. And as I was learning about dry labbing and faking results, because it's such a wildly unregulated field, especially in supplementation, there is no FDA certifications. And it's basically just if you get caught. And when I found Hugh and Grace, I went, oh, this one actually has the third-party testing that they were talking about in class. I felt really safe, because I think we are kind of in that scared mentality right now with a lot of products, is we don't know what to trust. We don't know what's dry labbed or not. So I'm going to go over these top 5 and take a screenshot of this as well. Oxybenzone, check your sunscreens, especially we're in summer. I just got back from vacation and immediately I ran to see the ones I had taken, because I looked at this one and this is still, so you have to remember, I'm still learning on certain things like this. I ran to check our sunscreen that I used on the kids the whole week, and I'm like, oh, good. It doesn't have oxybenzone, but it did have 3 other ingredients that it did warn me to check for later. Phthalates, this one, and I'm going to tie this in with something else here. This is going to be in, the plastic bottles. It's those microparticles that can get into our system. Now, one way to rid our body of phthalates is sweating, like a sauna, something like that. But then think, if you have a deodorant that has aluminum or has something blocking those sweat glands, what if that can't even come out of your body? So they all kind of work in tandem with each other. Triclosan, if you look at a chemical that can go all the way through the human body and into an umbilical cord, like that scares me. Like I don't want that in my body. Parabens, very, very common in bar soaps, cosmetics. Again, you have to think all of these makeup companies, they're putting these preservatives in these products for us so that they'll have a longer shelf life. Good for their product, not good for our bodies. And resorcinol. Again, when you read these things, don't go, oh my God, I've used stuff like that. Skin lightening creams, acne creams, hair dyes, hydroquinone, and when you're researching these words, always look for the alternate names that they could be called. Because I've known for years that hydroquinone, I used to use it, was really bad for my skin after my dermatologist had told me to stop using that. But that's still in a lot of products. Like when I was researching earlier, the products that have that in there, Skin Medica, things you see all the time, all the time.
Yeah. And so if there is like one that's the worst of them all, which would you say, like, how would you kind of filter from worst to like, what do I need to get rid of immediately? What can I cut out and that'll make the biggest impact? And then, moving through, like you said, piece by piece, and not in an overwhelmed pace, but in a very, in a very doable way.
Well, this is a hard one because they're coming at us all day, every single day. And I know Kaylee's going to cover a little bit more in depth later, but I want you guys more to think of our bodies like a bucket. And when that bucket gets full, that's when all the mayhem ensues.
Right.
So before, maybe even 20 years ago, if we encountered one of these here or there occasionally, our body was able to filter it out. Our liver did its job. Now they're coming at us daily in pretty much every product, in our food and our soil contaminants. And it's filling this toxic load bucket that our body just gets to a point that it cannot function anymore because they're coming at us from all angles. So I don't think there's one that I would say. It's where you can start and to start make the change slowly, because I know no one here is going to be like, I'm getting rid of every chemical in my entire house, my cleaning products is all at once, and let's spend $5,000 to recreate it or redo everything. But let's think more of slowly reducing the toxic load, one product at a time.
Awesome. So I know for this one, fragrances is a tough one for me because, like, I remember when I first started cleaning things up, I used to use Secret Clinical. Anybody else? Let's be honest. Secret Clinical, because I did not want to stink. I had a lot of outdoor activities that I would do. I'm a sweater, and I used to use Secret Clinical. When I started understanding a little bit more, and I was like, "Whoa, Nelly, okay." And so then I went to Native, which I thought this is, and there is a good, better, best, right? We can get all crazy and try to always be the best and then fall apart when we miss. But, we are moving that good, better, best. So Native is going to be better than a Secret, but then I noticed that Native is full of fragrances. So can you tell us what is wrong with fragrances, please?
Yes, and I think the easiest thing, without even giving you the science behind it, is to remember what it feels like to walk into a Bath and Body Works.
Right.
Instant headache.
Yeah.
Instant headache. But I loved this. And if you look up on PubMed, they have amazing articles, and we put the PubMed ID right there. Fragrance compounds resemble carcinogenic hydrocarbons and trigger the enzyme aromatase. Aromatase converts androgens into estrogen, leading to many health issues. So again, right here, it's mimicking a hormone, and we don't want extra of that. That causes the ripple effect going through our body. This point below just baffled me.
Yeah.
The fact that fragrances are exempt from requiring to put their full ingredient list. So they could have 15 extra chemicals from what they even put on that for your body. So false fragrance, look at the picture as well. I loved this because it can be a carcinogen, it can be an allergen, it can give you severe headaches, respiratory issues. It is an endocrine disruptor, the neurotoxic chemicals and environment toxins right there. So if you just the simplest swap of takeout, if you have any of those plugins in your house, if you have anything like that with the fake fragrance in your house, immediately remove that. That's gone. I do use oil, so I do like an oil diffuser, and natural oils, like with the reeds. That's a good swap right there. But just remember, perfumes. There's so many things with fragrances. Your dryer sheets. With my kids years ago, I had to take this out because my daughter would get bumps all over her body from the detergents that still had fragrances in them. I have to have fragrance-free everything in our house, and yeah, if it's interesting, kind of like for me, if when I take dairy and gluten out and I try to add it back in, how badly I feel. It's the same thing when you've eliminated those fragrances from your life, and then you walk past the Bath and Body Works and just see how your head feels immediately.
Exactly. So what are the most common EDCs that we should avoid as far as scents? And I know you just shared a few in the previous slides, but just revisiting this, what are the most common ones that we can just knock out?
The oxybenzone, that's an easy one. The phthalates, triclosan, the parabens, and the resorcinol. Look for those. Now, the next thing I did when I started my journey about a year and a half ago is I focused on anything that was actually physically touching my body, whether it was shampoo, deodorant, lotion. If you have a toxic skincare product that you're putting on before bed, that can even disrupt your sleep. So these things are affecting you more than you even know. So slowly going through them all, doing the research, seeing if they're third party tested. And thank God we all love Hugh and Grace products. I feel safe when I started using their entire skincare line because I knew that third party testing was right there. I knew I could pull up that lab report. The next thing I want to go into is chemicals and cleaners around your house, because for a long time I had an Airbnb and I had to use really toxic chemicals to clean it because it was disgusting. And I just had convinced myself there's no way that I can hide this mold or get this clean this quickly for these next renters. And by the time I would leave after that 3 hours of cleaning, my skin would be bright red. I would have a headache for the rest of the day. So think about especially if you're using like bleach in the shower, you're then breathing that in. That's going internally, and that's going to affect all your organs. All that can go through your skin, go through your gut lining. So cleaners, that was a real big one for me because I was using them so many times a week. Also, look up the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. I keep those pictures on my phone, but an easy thing I always remember is if it has a hard shell food-wise around it, like a banana, a melon, something like that to protect it, it's going to be more resistant to, like, you don't need to worry as much. Sorry, the cat's trying to come in the Zoom. You don't have to worry as much about it being organic, but the things with a thinner skin that those pesticides and fertilizers can get through, that's going to be on your dirty dozen. But always remember that clean 15 and dirty dozen, because I know it can either be hard to find organic or it's just too expensive.
Right. And this, I know, there's just so much that we're still learning around fertility and reproductive health. And, even the owners of Hugh and Grace, Sarah and Ben, had their own fertility journey where they, found out after even rounds and rounds of IVF, finally a doctor that asked them what products they were using at home. And so many times, we're looking for so many other outside reasons of why we may have ailments, and why we may be struggling with certain things. And we don't even think to associate what we're doing inside our homes on a regular everyday basis with fertility, health in general, but also reproductive health as well. So how do EDCs affect fertility and reproductive and sexual health?
Well, I think anytime something is either mimicked or lacking, something's blocked, that causes a ripple effect within the entire body. And our hormones, men and women, that's going to control our energy levels. That's the communication system of our bodies. And with that, when that is thrown off whack, like I said, that's a ripple effect through the entire body, especially when some of these EDCs are mimicking estrogen, or blocking it, when they're interfering with the normal reproductive functions. The egg quality even of a man, I think egg quality, but sperm quality, I think we're always thinking of women when it comes to fertility, but our men are just as important in having their sperm very, very healthy and whole, with no holes in it. I read this great book on that. That's just as important for the men to have their hormones in alignment and their bodies functioning correctly when you're trying to reproduce. I mean, also, if you're estrogen, if it's estrogen dominant, if it's mimicking that, that can affect your libido. It's going to affect your sexual desires, So again, all of this stuff works in tandem, and especially for our energy. If we don't feel good because our body systems are off, I mean, we're not going to also have the highest libido. So
Yeah, definitely. So this is like, let's start shining the light. What can we do about this? We're understanding the importance now of paying attention to this and how vastly incorporated it is in the everyday product. So what is it that we can do about EDCs to start improving our own health and our family's health and protecting them as well?
Well, again, I want to say don't get overwhelmed. We started researching products, and when I finally found a brand that I truly 100% trusted, that's when kind of that weight was taken off of me. So, I started with all of the skincare line, adding in the cleaning products, and they smell so great and they actually work really well. So when you find some brands that you really trust, such as Hugh and Grace, which we all do, that's great for on our skin, around our home, but we also have our nutritional line, which I think is very, very important, because that hydrate detox, when those heavy metals are coming in, that is going to help with that master antioxidant, the glutathione, to help bind to some of those heavy metals that are getting through our gut lining and to help us push them out. Our AM supplement, which is going to help with the liver detoxification and help with the inflammation that is being caused in our gut. Again, we're pushing that out, but we're getting great electrolytes. So with our entire nutritional line, I feel like I'm doing all the good things for my skin, my cleaning products, but now I have supplements and nutrition that's also keeping my gut functioning optimally and helping me to push out any of those toxins that are coming through and aiding in liver support. And I think liver support, you'll see a lot more talk about that going forward. And I love that I already am, because as these things are coming through our bodies, our bodies need help sometimes in pushing them out. And that's where the AM supplement and the hydrate detox to me are just absolutely non-negotiables. But again, control what you can, make the swaps you can, and make sure you do your research to, like the Yuka app and the websites that Kaylee mentioned, to make sure that there's third-party testing. So that's the most important to me, is to make sure it's not dry lab and there's actual testing behind your products.
Yeah. And one more thing before we bring Kaylee back on. Thank you so much, Jamie. That was really helpful. One more thing about the apps and about getting our families involved and helping them learn. Like just right now, I was at the grocery store with my daughter and I handed her the app because she wanted an electrolyte. Like she wanted a sports drink. She just finished soccer. She wanted a drink. She asked for Gatorade, which she did it with a smirk because she knows that's an absolutely no. And so I handed her the phone and let her use the app. And she started scanning some of these things that are on the shelf. And there's, unfortunately, not too many great options. But I also like, and I'll just use the Yuka app, for example, right now, although there's, others that you can look at, but it will tell you what is if there's a harmful ingredient about it, it will tell you. So if something rates poor that one of my kids wants to indulge in, I have them open and read what is poor about it and what does that mean. And those apps will go in, and this is just starting to help educate us all. Like there's still some stuff again that I'm still learning, so I'm not going to know everything, but when we can use these tools and just make this a common practice, it's going to help relieve the burden off of us too. It's not just your almond mom saying no. It is also an educational experience for everybody to start improving this, right? So we're going to bring Kaylee back on and we're going to talk about the toxic load in general. And we're also going to get into some really great details about how to support your body. Because, at the end of the day, we're never going to live in a totally toxic free, place. We're living in the planet Earth. And so like Jamie said, there's a lot of things that we can do internally. For example, the hydrate detox that she gave that will support our liver and support our body in eliminating these toxins as they build up. So Kaylee, can you come back on and tell us more about what exactly is a toxic load?
Yeah, so when you think about toxic load, the easiest way is kind of like what Jamie was saying earlier. Think about your body as a bucket. And we're getting toxins in from a lot of different areas. Some of them are unavoidable. What's in the air, what's in our water, like a lot of those things in the soil, we can't really avoid. Some of them could be like viral die-off of viruses in our bodies. We can't necessarily avoid getting a virus, right? But our bodies are designed to handle that. Now, some we have more control over. What's on our food? We can choose less processed foods. We can drink less alcohol, take in less, added sugars. Look at the dirty dozen and the clean 15. And then also what we're putting on and around our body, like we've been talking about. So if that bucket's getting full, our body's going to struggle. Our hormones are going to be off. So anything we do to start to reduce that toxic load, like just starting to drink Hydro Detox and that's starting to pull more environmental toxins out, you just brought it down. You have Glade plugins in your house and you unplug them all, you just brought it down. So celebrate each little thing that you can do, take it one step at a time, like we said. And that's going to be the best way to find that consistency and to move the needle. So how does it impact our health? I think we've kind of touched on this a lot, but again, we have that threshold. Yes, our liver, with the help of our digestive system, our elimination system, and our lymphatic system, those are all working together. Bowels, liver, gut, lymphatic system to reduce our toxic load. So the main ways that we eliminate toxins from our body are through our skin. That's one of our biggest detox organs, and that means through sweating. So what we put on our skin, our lotions and all of that, we don't want that to be pushing chemicals in. We want those pores to be open for the chemicals to come out. And then our bowel movement. So our liver, the bile from our liver, it works with glutathione, which we do have naturally in our body, but we make less and less of it as we age. So we need to add more in so we can bind up those environmental toxins so they can be flushed out when we pee and poop, which means you got to be pooping. If you're not pooping 1 to 3 times a day, your toxic load is rising slowly every single day. And so then that's when we get that hormonal impact that we talked about. We have the estrogen mimickers blocking the cell receptors. We've got our body saying, oh, I've already got enough androgens because I've been having all these fragrances. And so it's just not making what it needs, or it's making too much. It just throws everything off. So the more we reduce our exposure and help get out the ones that are already in there, the more our endocrine system, our hormones are going to function optimally. And that's That's mental clarity. That's energy. That's libido. That's, metabolism. It's not just sex hormones. It's not just our periods, all of that.
Right. And that leads right into this slide, which I absolutely love. Like, we just need a moment for this one because go ahead and share, especially about that study that was recently published. It's just shocking when we do remove the toxins, how much we can help our bodies and start, feeling much better. So, Kaylee?
Yeah, so we talked about like parabens. They prevent the growth of mold, bacteria, and yeast. So they're put into lots of cosmetics and personal care products. Parabens can also be found in like chewing gum, mouthwash, all that kind of stuff. Parabens are endocrine disruptors. They mimic estrogen in the body, and studies show that parabens affect the mechanism of normal breast cells, and they influence those cells to have abnormal growth, which increases our risk for breast cancer. But this is what's so amazing. PubMed, we've got the articles listed here. You can screenshot these numbers if you want to read them in depth. But newly published research on human women showed that switching to beauty and personal care products without parabens and phytolates turned breast cancer genes off in 28 days.
That's
insane. So if you feel overwhelmed and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been using all these bad products, I'm 47, what's in me? You can start to turn those cells off in as little as 28 days. That's less than a month. And this complements another study that showed that adolescent girls, because if you guys have teenage girls or boys, they're on TikTok, and these influencers are showing them the crappiest of crap products that I have ever seen in my life. I get so frustrated when my kids are like, can I have Axe body wash? Like, my son bought Axe body spray, and I was like, nope. He's like, I spent my own money. I'm like, don't care. In the trash it goes. But when adolescent girls switch products to those without endocrine disruptors, they experienced a significant drop in the level of those toxins in their blood in 3 days. So you switch the product, 3 days later, a noticeable decrease in the number of toxins in your body. So to me, it's like, even though this might feel overwhelming, if you just start with one thing, look how quickly you can have a positive impact on your health. It's wild. Like, if you switch to organic tampons by your next cycle, you could have less painful periods, less clotting, simple things like that.
Incredible. So there is, guys, there is so much power in learning this and understanding and just even applying it here moving forward. So tell me more about kids in toxic load, which is where I know it strikes for all of us. But tell us more about, how do these conventional products affect babies and children? And let's try not to go down a rabbit hole, because I know we can. Because I get so frustrated. Simple. I get so frustrated with this topic.
I mean, if we just keep it super simple, like our hormones, like we said, they're not just our reproductive hormones. Our children have hormones that determine how well they sleep, how deeply they sleep, how they grow. They determine their blood sugar, cravings, thyroid, brain development, their mood, and their behavior every single day. That's all being determined by their hormones. So, when we're washing them in these bubble baths or whatever you clean your bathtub with, and then you bathe your child in there, whatever chemicals were in your cleaner are now being absorbed through your child's skin. So what we put on it, if you've got Glade plugins and the kids are breathing that in, that could be impacting their allergies or asthmatic symptoms, things like that. So what's in the air, I remember cutting up a banana for my son at the beginning of my journey, and I had just cleaned the counter. I'd wiped it with a Lysol wipe, but it was an organic banana. And I had like an aha moment where I was like, wait, I buy organic bananas, but I just cut it up on a counter that I cleaned with Lysol. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then I started swapping my cleaning products. So again, it's affecting our kids too. It's not just women and men, not just adults, not just reproductive hormones.
Yeah, definitely. And simple swaps, just like we're doing for ourselves. And then starting with our liver, how does our liver filter and detoxify for us? And how can we better support our liver in helping us?
I feel like we've touched on this a little bit, but like the bile in our liver is supposed to bind up these environmental toxins and then flush them out through our bowel movements. So glutathione is our master antioxidant. That's one of the things that helps the liver to work well. Milk thistle really supports liver health. Ginger, curcumin, which is found in turmeric. These are all ingredients that are actually in the morning supplement from Hugh Grace. And then one of the reasons I love that supplement when I first read about it is because I was taking everything in it on its own already to support my body in detoxing, because I have a history of autoimmune disease. I have MTHFR, which means it's harder for my body to detox. So this is something I've been aware of for the last 16 years. And when we give, our liver is basically one of the only organs, like you can donate a piece of your liver because yours will regenerate, and the person you give the piece to, it will grow them a liver. So the liver is just this amazing organ, and when we pay attention to it, it can enhance our health so much. So our bodies, like Jamie said, they weren't designed to handle the amount of toxins we're taking in. I saw a doctor say the other day that in the next 10 years, everyone's going to need to sauna weekly because there's just going to be no way to keep up with the amount of toxins we're being exposed to. So simple swaps for your products. Start swapping products as they run out. So don't go out and dump it all right now and panic. Just when your shampoo runs out, what's a better swap for a new shampoo? When your deodorant runs out, what's a better swap for a new deodorant? One thing at a time. We talked about glutathione, hydrate detox, two things. The glutathione helps to bind up the toxins. The electrolytes, especially the magnesium, help us to have healthy bowel movements. And the pre and probiotic that's in there, the DE111, helps to reseal that gut lining and rebuild it because it's been damaged by all these endocrine disrupting chemicals. So that way our gut can function better. We could do a whole separate call on that, but we won't. Proper sleep. Our liver is working its hardest right after 11 p.m. So we really want to try to be asleep in a deep sleep by 11 p.m. That's when our liver is going to work and doing its work. And it does that better if we're not awake, because then other things are happening that are distracting from it. We need all the focus and all the energy to go to that detoxification, which happens while we're sleeping. And moving and sweating. So taking walks, working out, a sauna, dry brushing, Epsom salt baths. These are all great ways to do additional detox support. And I know we said 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to show you guys a 1-minute activity really quickly that if you just feel overwhelmed, you can do this every morning and it will help to like unclog your lymphatic system so you can flush toxins out. So I'm going to show you the 6 areas. You rub 10 times and then you tap 10 times. So it's your clavicle bone. You rub it 10 times and tap it 10 times. Then the sides of your neck right here. Don't push hard. It's a gentle rub and then a gentle tap. I'm not going to do it the full 10 times because it'll take 2 minutes. Then your armpits and your chest muscle. So that like pit pillow right there, massage it. Then tap it. Then you do your stomach, rub it, tap it. Then you do, let me see if I can aim it down. You do like your hip flexors. So you rub it. This is terrible. It's like being hacked. And then you tap it. And then you do behind your knees. You rub it and you tap it. And then you just literally stand straight. And you basically do calf raises, but like a bounce. So your heels kind of bounce off the ground and you create a vibration up your body. And that's it. If you do that each morning, you're going to stimulate your lymphatic system, and it doesn't have a pump like our heart pumps our blood. So that's your way of pumping the lymphatic system to help pump those toxins out.
Yeah, and that's great. And we're all about habit stacking. So like if this is something that you can incorporate, when I first learned the bouncing on my toes, it was explained to me like, hey, do it every day when you brush your teeth. You're already brushing your teeth. So while you're brushing your teeth, just sit there. And they even taught us a cute little song. But sit there, brush your teeth and bounce on your toes. And that will help simulate your lymphatic drainage. And it was like, oh, I could do that. So tell us, Kaylee, how does removing toxins help? What can we expect after all of this knowledge and all the things that we're going to shift? How does it help? Ooh, you're muted. Somehow you went muted.
Sorry, the picture on the left is me at, I think, 33. Look at under my eyes. Look at how dark and thick those bags are. That's like stagnant lymph and all that. I had painful periods, hip and joint pain, allergies and eczema, anxiety and insomnia. I caught every bug that went around. My skin was so dull. I was so tired all the time. This is before I started swapping any of my products or like really working on my journey. This is me at 45 on the right. And after basically starting, like I said, with simple swaps, I swapped one thing at a time as it ran out and just started using cleaner products. I'm not perfect by any stretch. Someone pointed out to me the other day that my deodorant had some toxins in it. It was better than what I used to use, but it wasn't the best. No, but I'm doing the best I can. And I believe that that is powerful. And now I have a strong immune system. I sleep great. I had improved periods when I had them. I don't have a period anymore because I'm in menopause. My skin is glowing because from the inside out, that reduction of toxins got rid of those bags and reduced my anxiety. And that is the power of reducing our exposure to endocrine disruptors and getting that shit, for lack of a better word, out of our bodies.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, if this alone isn't, I know so many of us are challenged with always getting sick or sleeping like crap. And that sleeping like crap is like just one of the worst things. It feels like torture. And when you can't just lay down and get a good night's sleep, and, you know, menstrual cycles and dull skin, like just this alone and the amount of anxiety that so many people walk around with, understanding that this all impacts those areas is just, it's empowering because there is something that we can do. And so what can we do, Kaylee?
Yeah, this slide's really for you guys to screenshot because we've kind of hit on all of these. But again, read your labels. You can put the ingredients through the Yuka app or look at Million Marker. Get adequate hydration, especially with electrolytes. Supplements to support your liver and your gut. We talked about Hydrate Detox and the AM supplement. Those are two that we all use regularly that, you know, we chose for a reason. A 30-minute walk, which could be broken up into 3 10-minute walks, 2 15-minute walks, whatever works for you, but especially out in nature in the sunshine, bouncing on the balls of your feet like we just showed you, or that full lymphatic drainage support, being asleep before 11 p.m., and doing something that helps you sweat each day, whether for you that's a workout, a walk, a sauna, an Epsom salt bath, anything that makes you sweat is going to help get your toxins out.
Awesome. So we just wanted to thank you all for hopping on this call. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording in just a second, and we will take just a few questions for those of you who are on live. But whether you're on live or catching the recording, if you're interested in learning more about the Hugh and Grace specific products that we mentioned, feel free to reach out to us or to whoever invited you to take a listen to this call, and they would love to help support you in getting those products for yourself. But thank you for caring about your health and the health of your family and being here today and being part of this movement of people that say, hey, this isn't okay. We can do better. And until the government does better, until companies are held responsible for doing better, we can take that ownership and do better ourselves. So thank you so much for being here. Let me stop the recording. I see a few in the chat, and we will take any questions.